Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. The sound that woke me wasn't loud. It was a small metallic click, the deadbolt sliding back, careful and deliberate. I turned my head toward the clock. 2:03 a.m. For a moment, I thought I'd imagined it. Then I saw the faint strip of light from the hallway. Someone was moving quietly, trying not to wake me. I got up, walked out, and stopped at the end of the corridor. Jessica was there, jacket on, shoes laced. Her hair was tied back, her keys in hand. She froze when she saw me. No guilt, no surprise, just irritation, like I'd interrupted her in the middle of something important. "Where are you going?" I asked. My voice came out low, flat. She exhaled sharply through her nose. "Don't start, Raymond. I'm just going out." "At 2 in the morning?" Her expression hardened. "You don't own me. I'll be back when I feel like it." The sentence hung in the air. Cold. Final. I didn't say another word. I watched her open the door and walk out into the empty hallway. I stood there for a while, looking at the door she'd closed behind her. Part of me wanted to chase after her, demand an explanation, start another argument that would go in circles. But that part died right there. Jessica thought she was walking out to prove she was free. What she didn't realize was that she'd just ended everything. I sat down on the edge of the couch and stared at the blank television screen. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even hurt. Not yet. I just felt a strange calm settling in, the kind that comes when you know exactly what needs to be done. She thought she'd come back whenever she felt like it. But when she did, she wouldn't find me. Someone else would be waiting. I've spent most of my life studying risk, the kind that hides behind normal routines. My work in security consulting has trained me to see small shifts before they turn into big problems. I can spot weak locks, faulty firewalls, and people who lie with confident eyes. But somehow, I missed the one sitting across from me every night. Jessica Carter worked as a freelance photographer, creative, restless, and always chasing something new. She had a way of making ordinary things seem dramatic. I thought that was charm. Looking back, it was instability dressed up as passion. We met at a friend's housewarming. She was different from anyone I dated. Funny, spontaneous, loud in rooms that were too quiet. I liked that. I'd spent years in controlled environments, and she felt like a break from all that order. When we started dating, I thought I was balancing the equation. Discipline meets energy. After wedding, she moved into my apartment downtown. She said she wanted to start fresh, build something stable. I agreed, but asked her to share expenses. Nothing major, just her part of the groceries and utilities. She smiled, said, "Of course." That promise lasted maybe 3 weeks. Her payments were always late, always followed by an excuse, a canceled shoot, a slow client, a broken lens. I let it slide. I told myself she was trying. That was my mistake. Then came the nights that didn't add up. She'd say she was out taking photos for her portfolio, but come home smelling like cigarettes and cheap perfume. If I asked where she'd been, she'd flare up instantly. "You're paranoid," she'd say. "You don't trust me." I wanted to. I really did. But trust is like a code. Once it's broken, it doesn't fix itself. So when I caught her sneaking out at 2 a.m. that night, I wasn't surprised. I was ready. I just didn't realize how far she'd already gone. By the time the doors closed behind Jessica, my mind had already shifted into work mode. I wasn't a husband dealing with betrayal. I was a professional containing a breach. I walked to my office and opened my laptop. Within minutes, I'd logged into the security system for the building. Every tenant has a digital key assigned through the management portal. Hers was still active. I disabled it. Then I reset the door code. At 2:20 a.m., Jessica Carter officially lost access to my apartment. Next, I handled the rest. Our streaming accounts, phone plans, shared cloud drives, all of them under my name. I changed every password, logged every step. Her devices would stop syncing by morning. The silence in the apartment didn't bother me. It felt clean, focused. When I was done, I drafted a short email to Omar, the building manager. I'd known him for years, detail-oriented, no questions type. "Omar, temporary restriction for tenant Jessica Carter. Please deny her entry to Unit 1708 until further notice. Access revoked? Security issue. Raymond." That was the perimeter secured. But the bigger problem wasn't physical. It was her career. Jessica's mentor, Eleanor Park, ran a small but respected photography gallery in the city. Eleanor had given Jessica a professional equipment grant last year, high-end cameras, lenses, editing software, all tied to a clause about misuse or misconduct. Jessica thought Eleanor adored her. What she didn't know was that Eleanor had once confided to me her worries about Jessica's lack of discipline. The next morning, I called Eleanor. She answered on the second ring. "Raymond?" "Yes," I said quietly. "I want to talk about Jessica. I think you'll want to collect your equipment. She's been using it for work that might violate your grant terms." There was a pause. Then Eleanor's calm voice. "I'll be there today." I thanked her, closed my laptop, and sat back. The first phase was complete. She wanted freedom. She just got it. In full. Eleanor arrived that afternoon with the camera bag over her shoulder like a badge of authority. She didn't waste time on small talk. "Where is it?" she asked. "In that room," I said, leading her to Jessica's workspace. Lenses scattered across the desk, memory cards stuffed into drawers, invoices half filled, half forgotten. We began boxing everything that didn't belong to her. Eleanor worked fast. No emotion, no judgment, just efficiency. It reminded me of how I handle a system cleanup. Remove the corrupted files, isolate the cause, restore order. Then she found the folder. "Raymond," she said, her tone shifting. She handed me a stack of printed photos. Club scenes, people drinking, neon lights. Jessica had titled the series Midnight Skin. The timestamps matched the nights she'd claimed to be working late. Eleanor flipped through the images, then pointed to a familiar face leaning against a bar counter. A tall man, sleeves rolled up, smirking at the camera. "Who's that?" she asked. "His name's Warren," I said. "Bar manager." She said he was just a client. Eleanor's eyes hardened. "These are taken with our grant equipment." "That's a violation." We kept going. Hidden under a pile of unopened mail were overdue credit card statements, some maxed out under my address. And beneath those, a small notebook. Her handwriting, notes about shoots, and personal entries that read like confessionals. "Warren says he can get me into the downtown gallery if I just push harder. Raymond wouldn't understand. I feel trapped. I want to disappear for a while." Eleanor sighed. "She's talented but reckless. Always has been." I nodded, sealing another box. She thought the rules didn't apply. Eleanor looked around the half-empty room. "I'll take the equipment back. She'll have to answer for this. She's due for a serious reality check." "Good," I said. "She's been running from one long enough." We finished packing before sunset. When Eleanor left, the apartment looked lighter, not just in space, but in weight. Jessica had no idea what was waiting when she came back. 3 days later, the quiet ended. At exactly 4:18 p.m., my phone buzzed with a message from Omar. "Jessica's downstairs. She's angry. Wants access." I was sitting in the living room with Eleanor, reviewing the last of the packed boxes. She glanced up. "Ready?" "Always," I said. Jessica started calling 5 minutes later. First my phone, then the intercom. When I didn't answer, she switched to text. "Raymond, what's going on? Why won't my key work? This isn't funny. Let me in." I stayed silent. The phone buzzed again. Eleanor's lips curved slightly. "She'll escalate soon." She was right. 2 minutes later, she came up. When the doorbell rang, I opened it without expression. Jessica stood there, hair messy, eyes wide with a mix of anger and fear. "What the hell is this?" she snapped. "Why is Eleanor here? Why are my things in boxes?" "Come in," I said. Eleanor rose from the couch, arms folded. "Jessica, sit down." Jessica ignored her. "Raymond, you can't just throw me out of my own home." "It's not your home anymore," I said. "You made that clear when you walked out at 2 in the morning." Her jaw tightened. "You can't?" "I can." And I did. Eleanor set a folder on the table, the printed club photos and the note about Warren. "We need to discuss this, Jessica. You violated your grant terms. You used our equipment for unapproved commercial work. That ends now." Jessica's confidence faltered. "This is ridiculous. They were just test shoots." "Then why hide them?" Eleanor asked quietly. Jessica's eyes darted between us. "You planned this. Both of you." "No," I said. "You planned it the night you decided I didn't own you." "Are you really doing this?" she asked. "I already did." I placed a manila envelope on the counter. "These are the divorce papers. I drafted them a month ago, just in case." Her mouth fell open. You were planning this? I was preparing, I said. There's a difference. She stared at the envelope but didn't touch it. You don't mean this. You're just angry. I'm not angry, I said. That's the point. Jessica, you should sign, Eleanor said softly. It's cleaner this way. Less damage for everyone. Jessica shot her a glare. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Eleanor shook her head. No, I'm just tired of watching you burn bridges and blame the wind. Jessica turned back to me. You called her. You locked me out. You humiliated me in front of everyone. Is that what you wanted? I wanted peace, I said. This is how I get it. She picked up the pen, hesitated, then signed. When she finished, she shoved the papers back across the counter. Congratulations, Raymond. You finally got control. No, I said quietly. I just stopped pretending I had any. Omar arrived 40 minutes later, as arranged, to supervise her move-out. Jessica gathered her bags in silence. When she passed me at the door, she stopped. You'll regret this, she said. Maybe, I replied, but I'll sleep better. I looked around the apartment that night. For the first time in months, it was mine. Just walls, light, and quiet. Freedom doesn't always feel good, but it always feels right. 2 weeks after Jessica signed the papers, the process was underway. The lawyer confirmed it would be finalized by the end of the month. No disputes, no drawn-out court visits. Just signatures and silence. I didn't hear from her, but Eleanor did. She told me Jessica had moved into a tiny studio above the gallery, working long hours retouching product photos for minimum pay. The same person who once bragged about being free now lived by schedules and rules. She's quieter now, Eleanor said over the phone. I said nothing. There wasn't much to say. A few days later, I got an email from Jessica. The subject line just said, I'm sorry. She wrote that she'd been confused, that the nightlife, the so-called friends, and Warren had all turned out to be mistakes. She said she missed the calm, the safety, the feeling of home. It was full of half blame and half apology, like she wanted forgiveness without the work that came with it. I read it once and closed it. I didn't reply. 2 days after that, Sophia, a friend we'd both known, called me out of the blue. She said, Raymond, I need to be honest. We all knew about Warren. She told everyone it wasn't serious, but it got messy. He stopped seeing her the moment she lost the apartment. I thanked her for the call, but I already knew. I wasn't angry at Jessica anymore. I didn't wish her harm. I just hoped she finally learned what it felt like to face consequences. As for me, I'd started a new contract with a private firm. Long hours, big clients, clear results. It kept my mind sharp, and that was exactly what I wanted to stay. A month later, the divorce papers came back stamped and official. No appeals, no drama, just a quiet end to a loud chapter. Life had settled into something that finally made sense again. My mornings were early, my nights calm. I'd changed the furniture and scrubbed the place down until not a trace of Jessica was left. What she'd called control, I called balance. I met Jenny at a client briefing 2 months after everything ended. She was an architect, steady, focused, the kind of person who kept her promises. We started with coffee meetings that turned into late dinners. There was no chaos with her, no guessing games. It wasn't love at first sight. It was trust at first calm. Eleanor called me not long after that. She's still at the gallery, she said. Doing better at work, but she keeps to herself. No more late nights. No more Warren. She's paying off her debts slowly. Good, I said. Maybe this time she'll finish something. Eleanor hesitated. She talks about you sometimes. Says she wishes she'd listened. I didn't ask what else she said. I didn't need to. Jessica had fallen. Not ruined, just grounded. The woman who once sneered at structure now lived by it. Maybe she'd learned something from it. Maybe not. Either way, that was no longer my concern. A week later, an email from her landed in my junk folder. Long, emotional, full of memories that once meant something. She said she'd changed, that she finally understood what I'd been trying to do for her, that she wanted to talk. I hovered over reply for a second, then deleted it. Some stories don't need a second ending. That night, I locked my door and looked out over the city. Jessica once told me I didn't own her. She was right, but she never realized the truth. She didn't own me either. And the moment she forgot that, The marriage was already over. Thank you for watching.